tuning into the candidate debates for the AS elections. My name is Christian. Nice to see you. In these times with lots of questions, we hope to provide you some normalcy, that these debates will provide you some normalcy, and wherever you may be viewing from, it allows you to stay connected to the SCSU campus and your SCSU family. Today we are scheduled for debates for the candidates for AS Vice President of University Affairs and Vice President of External Relations. Tomorrow, we will have the debate for the candidates for the AS Vice President of Financial Affairs, the Executive Vice President, and the President. We thank all candidates for AS leadership for the effort and time they put into their campaigns to make sure you make the right decision in regards to who will be representing you on this campus next. We also would like to thank the Daily Aztec for being here to moderate these debates and provide questions to our candidates. Voting in AS elections starts Monday, March 23rd at 8 a.m. and ends on Thursday, March 26th at 7 p.m. As usual, all voting will take place on SCSU web portal. Just log in and click on AS elections anytime during the voting period. SCSU continues to monitor the evolving situation with COVID-19, and we encourage you all to please visit scsu.edu/COVID-19 for all the latest information. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns that we at AS can assist with, please feel free to contact us through the AS Your Voice Matters initiative. Take good care, y'all. Please stay safe. We're here for you, hoping all well with you. Best of luck, y'all. Thank you. Bye.
The candidates want to walk up.
First batch of candidates, you guys are ready?
University Affairs first. Yes.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 2020 AS Debates. My name is Bella Ross, Editor-in-Chief of the Daily Aztec, and this is Jack Mullen, the live producer. We are here today to talk to the candidates for Vice President of University Affairs and Vice President of External Relations about their visions for SCSU and how they plan to fill these roles.
After each question we ask, we will give each candidate 1 minute to respond. All candidates will be asked the same questions, and each candidate will be allowed 3 rebuttals throughout the debate. We will be limited to 30 seconds.
We will also be keeping track of the candidates' time during their responses. We will hold up a 30-second, 10-second, or stop sign when applicable during their responses.
Given the current situation with the coronavirus, there is no audience at today's debate. If anyone watching online has a question they want to ask the candidates, we encourage you to comment the questions on our broadcast for consideration. We will select a few questions at the end if there is enough time.
To finish up, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for a closing argument or for final thoughts. Do any candidates have any questions about the rules? Alright, to begin, each candidate gets 1 minute for an opening statement. We can start over here.
Hello everyone. I would first like to thank you all for streaming in today. I know this is a very challenging time, not only for our academic lives, but our personal lives as well. I understand the importance of this election and the responsibility it has for rebuilding the students' needs after the remainder of our now online semester. I'd like to thank the Daily Aztec for hosting this event and the union staff for putting this event together, as well as my team for supporting my 2020 vision. My name is Crystal Sanchez, and I am a third-year interdisciplinary studies major with an emphasis in public administration, hospitality, and public relations. I'm devoted to addressing students' issues that are not only academic, but also pertain outside of the classroom. My 2020 vision is to do everything I can to combat these issues and provide a voice for all students.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophie Chance and I'm running to be your next Vice President of University Affairs. I would like to first and foremost thank the Daily Aztec as well as my opponent for being here today, and I'm very much looking forward to our debate. There are many different issues that we face on our campus, including advising, 4-year graduation rates, research integration, and overall cost of being a student at San Diego State University. It is because of these issues that I have decided to run and serve SDSU.
Moving on. To address the obvious, we are currently running this debate with no audience as everything that is happening with the spread of the coronavirus. And students are watching from home to engage with all their classes virtually. In light of everything that's happening with the spread of coronavirus, why is it important for students to tune in and participate in the Associated Students elections? And do you think that pressing on with the elections could put people in danger? We'll start with Sophie.
Great question. This is obviously something that is very relevant today as it has affected all of our lives very dramatically. I think that it is important that we're continuing on with these elections because we need to normalize the things happening in our lives. Everything has been very chaotic recently, and it's important that we remain calm and that we are still continuing on with the education and making sure that once Corona has subsided, that we still have a future for this university and we have people in power that are ready to take on these challenges head on.
With light of everything that's going on right now, it is a really scary time for everyone. Not only just our academics switching completely online, but also our personal lives that are being affected. Many students, such as myself, are losing their on-campus jobs, which is also affecting students' mental health and different aspects of their life. Obviously, I know this election might be the last thing that people are thinking of right now, but I want you all to understand how crucial this election is. We need to elect leaders that are going to stand for the students when we come back in the fall. We need to elect leaders that have the students' best interests at heart. I will do that. As Chief Academic Officer, I will serve you when we come back after this semester of many unknowns. I will serve all students.
Alright, this one we can start with Crystal. Define the role of Vice President of University Affairs, and how do you plan to make this role your own?
As Chief Academic Officer, my role includes chairing the University Council meetings. In this role, I will work with the different representatives of each college, as well as work with the college presidents. I will also sit on the Campus Fee Advisory Committee and be one of the few voices in the University Senate Committee. Through these positions, I am able to assess student needs and truly be the voice for students within these spaces. Thank you.
Could you please restate the question?
Define the role of Vice President of University Affairs. How do you plan to make this role your own?
So this role is one of the 5 executive board positions that is responsible for serving San Diego State students. I think that first and foremost, that is what we should be doing here. In this position, I will be listening to the students and executing on things that they see as the future of our school. Specifically for my position, that relates to all academic affairs, including your classes. Specifically with Corona, that means when moving things online, we need to be paying attention and making sure that our students are getting the education that they deserve and the education that they thought that they would be getting when they came here. But ultimately, my job is to represent the students and what they want to hear.
All right, moving on. Why did you decide to run for this position, and what makes you the most qualified person for the job? We'll start with Sophie.
So coming into San Diego State University, I came to explore SDSU and I saw the energy on this campus. I saw people who wanted to be here, who were excited about so much more than just academics and who love this campus. And I knew that's something that I wanted to be a part of and that I want to continue for future generations of San Diego State students. I believe that I'm the most qualified for this position, not only due to my experience in Associated Students. I served as a College of Engineering representative as well as on the board of directors this year, but additionally, my experience outside of Associated Students. I worked at the Zip Launchpad, I'm in a sorority, I have many different things that make me a part of this campus and here to represent all students.
All right, now Crystal.
Through my background as a first-generation college student, I have gathered a passion for students' issues after experiencing my own financial and emotional struggles over these past 3 years. When I think about this position, I think about the power that it has to minimize student struggles on this campus. Over the past 3 years, I've been involved in Associated Students. It has given me the experience to become more knowledgeable of the different resources and different centers that could support students, as well as different organizations such as sitting on the executive board of Dance Marathon, along with being in a sorority, as well as other organizations such as Aztecs Rock Hunger and Mental Health Committee. I've been able to see a holistic view of this campus and what issues truly impact students.
It If elected, what do you plan to be the top 3 priorities during your service? And we can start with Crystal.
If elected, the top 3 priorities that I have is to advocate for students' needs inside and outside of the classroom, look at bottleneck courses to increase student success, and combat university issues that pertain to health and safety. Through my experience in the Mental Health Committee in Aztecs Rock Hunger, I've been educated on the negative impacts that occur on our students' education that could hinder the way that we perform in the classroom. As well as looking at classes such as Stats 119, Math 120. These courses are designed for students early on in their careers to get set back on graduation. Students need to depend on supplementary instruction, and sometimes we don't have the time or the resource to do these things. In my role, I hope to put these top 3 priorities in order to advocate for students and make going to this campus and getting an education a lot easier on students' mental and financially.
So my top 3 goals are redefining accessibility, reevaluating, advising, and reinforcing that SDSU should be supporting all students and becoming a well-rounded individual. So first and foremost, redefining accessibility. So that means ensuring that the cost of being a San Diego State student it goes way beyond tuition. That includes buying calculators for each class. I know I had to buy 3 different calculators. It added up to almost $300 for different classes that are all within the same major. So that means moving textbooks online, reducing costs in other ways. Reevaluating advising for San Diego State University students. People should be able to get advising that they need in a timely manner and high quality. And lastly, reinforcing, supporting, becoming a well-rounded student. I want to create a platform for all students to be able to find research opportunities and clubs that interest them.
All right. This year has been very turbulent for Greek life. With all...
Sorry, I have a rebuttal.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that we should truly use is the Your Voice Matters campaign on this campus. In order to truly hear what students' needs are, it's really hard to go out and get every single student's opinions on what the biggest issue on this campus is, and I think that Your Voice Matters campaign truly will allow us as an executive board to truly hear the students' needs. Thank you.
My opponent makes a great point that hearing the voice of the students is incredibly important, and that is why we have incorporated that into our campaign strategy starting at the beginning of last Friday. So we have a QR code that you can scan on any of our posters and is also on our Instagram. We want to get your feedback starting today. We want to hear your ideas so that we can incorporate those into our goals now.
And just to clarify, you guys are limited to 3 rebuttals throughout the debate.
Thank you.
All right, on to the next question. This year has been very turbulent for Greek life, with all IFC-affiliated chapters being temporarily suspended following the unfortunate death of an SDSU freshman. Many questions pertaining to the incident remain unanswered. How would you work to increase transparency and safety within the Greek community?
This is an incredibly sensitive topic, and I think that it is important that we are talking about it because transparency is something that, between administration and San Diego State students should be talked about at all times. This particular case is confidential for many different reasons, and I would like to, respect the wishes of the people not only in that chapter, but also making the decisions behind this event.
I think in regards to the IC suspension, within every organization, there's always room for improvement. With that being said, there are Greek representation that sit on the task force, and I think this will be pivotal for all of ISC and all of Greek life in order to move forward. As well as I've sat on the Greek Life Activities Board for the past 2 years, and I have truly been able to look at all 4 councils and different issues that each council has, and I think that with programs like Greek Life Activities Board and different programs on this campus, we can all be united in everything that has occurred.
One of the largest issues that students at SDSU deal with is lack of affordable housing. How will you ensure that future housing plans on campus have students' best interests in mind when it comes down to the price?
And we can start.
So, over this past year, I served on Aztec Rock Hunger Executive Board, and through that, I have truly seen what financial struggles our students have. In this role, I will work with my Vice President of Finance Affairs and truly make these programs such as the ECRT, the food pantry, more accessible to students, because the cost of tuition is really expensive. Trust me, including myself. Like, I have an on-campus job to pay for this tuition and to support myself, so I truly understand that students financially do struggle to come to college, and that is how I will support them.
Could you please restate the question?
One of the largest issues that students at SCSU deal with is lack of affordable housing. How would you ensure that future housing plans on campus have students' best interests in mind when it comes down to the price?
So this is actually a topic that's incredibly frustrating for me. I think that in terms of sophomore success and other initiatives that SCSU has put forward, we haven't had enough student voice in these conversations. So I will work with my Vice President of Finance to ensure that we are working with administration to hear the students' voice in these things. Currently, sophomore success doesn't give accessibility for students to live in Greek housing or live in other places where it is affordable for them. Currently, sophomore success requires that San Diego State students are paying a very high price for their housing, and so to supplement that, we should also be reducing the prices of tuition in other areas and advertising things like the ECRT and other things to help support our students in all ways.
With all the different identity and resource centers being open on campus, how do you plan to continue listening to different student voices and keep diversity a priority? Sophie?
So thank you for asking that question. I think in the past, AS as a whole has expected students to come to us. And I think this year is the time for us to go to them. It is incredibly important that every single executive officer and every single person within Associated Students is going to these resource centers and taking advantage of these opportunities and hearing what the students have to say from every single community. I think it is incredible that we have these new centers opening up because every single student should feel like they have a home on campus.
So one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that my slate is comprised of cultural, Greek, and philanthropy-based organizational leaders. With this, we truly have a holistic view of the campus and different issues that these different communities on campus face. I plan in this role to work with the Student Diversity Commissioner in order to continue to have mixers where students can be aware of these resource centers and become aware of different backgrounds and identities that people have and truly hear the concerns that each student has. Thank you.
Many students will often create petitions to encourage the administration to make changes on campus. For example, a petition gained traction about renovating the music building, and the PSFA building is still barely used following a botched construction project last year. How will you provide a voice on campus for students in underrepresented programs?
So currently, I'm the representative of PSFA. So when our entire building, everything that was occurring, that was one of the biggest issues within our college council. I think the biggest thing is truly working with the dean. Dean Peggy is an amazing woman, and I know that these issues go beyond her head sometimes, but I feel like truly voicing the concerns and how important it is for students to have this home. Right now, the PSFA Annex is not a stable home for us, and I think that it's really important that every college on this campus does have their own home. So, thank you.
So it's construction projects like this that really make a difference in the students' everyday life. So if you are using that building and you are worried for your own safety or for the safety of your peers, it's incredibly important that those things are being heard. So as I mentioned before, we are currently listening to ideas from students as well as the Your Voice Matters campaign, and working with the deans and working with the administration is a role that I would like to step into. I believe that I would be able to speak on behalf of the students in a way that would represent them the best.
And just a shout out to our viewers online. We are about to transition into questions from viewers, but if anybody else watching right now has any other questions they would like us to throw into the pool, please comment on our Facebook Live.
Starting off with the first question from online. Graduation Initiative 2025 shows us that although 4- and 6-year graduation rates are improving, there have still been no changes in the large equity gaps across the CSU system. As VP of University Affairs, how would you suggest closing the equity gap on our campus? Sophie?
Thank you so much for asking this. I think this is an incredibly prevalent issue and something we should be talking about. One of the main things that's getting started right now is called World Campus. This is a program that directly integrates students from the San Diego area to be able to get a San Diego State University degree. This is huge for our university because it will allow for people who haven't in the past been able to get their degree, and now they will have that opportunity. With that said, I think it's incredibly important that these things are being executed correctly, that we are getting student input from current main campus students so that our World Campus program can be successful for everyone involved.
So one of the biggest issues with the Graduation Initiative 2025 that we need to really look at is ensuring that these equity gaps are looked at. Right now, we have 30% of our campus are Pell Grant recipients. Myself included, I am a first-generation college student. I think that the biggest way to support these students is by making sure that we are informing them of different resources on this campus that could truly support them. Having these different equity gaps that hinder us from performing at the best in our education should be looked at, and I think that the biggest thing is just making sure that we support them and voice their concerns. Thank you.
Here's another question from a Facebook Live viewer. How can we continue to expand sustainability through AS initiatives to promote environmental justice on campus? We can start with Crystal.
So as Chief Academic Officer, a lot of internal policy comes straight to the University Council. A couple weeks ago, Greenleaf Commission actually brought a climate action plan to us. And I think one of the biggest ways in this role is to ensure that we are looking at these policies and working with different commissions, such as Greenleaf, in order to ensure that this campus does maintain its sustainable value that we are built on.
Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the amazing work that our Green Love program, as well as all the different sustainability initiatives, have done on our campus so far. We are one of the leaders in sustainability around the world, and I think that's something that we should be very, very proud of. I think that being as Chief Academic Officer, we will be dealing with referendums and various things that come across the table, and it's important that we are supporting these in the correct way. Additionally, one of my 3 goals is to increase accessibility, and in that, I want to move textbooks online so that people are able to get them at a cheaper price, but it also reduces the amount of waste we have in terms of paper and various things like that.
The next question is about supporting students with disabilities. How do you plan on also supporting those who utilize accessible materials in their courses due to disabilities and a need for class accommodations?
Great question. So, we should be including all of our students in everything that we do. I know there have been many different AS commissions, and I think that we should spread this even more widely, but we have been creating accessible emails. So that means that those emails can be read out loud or other things like that, but we should be increasing accessibility to all students in every single walk of campus.
I think one of the biggest things as executive officers is to ensure that every student on this campus feels as though they can get to their classroom, they feel supported no matter what the disability is, they should feel supported at this campus. I think in regards to accessibility, one of the biggest things right now with the coronavirus outbreak and moving online is that many students don't have access to technology at home. And with the recent shutdown of our library, that is deteriorating students from continuing with their education by having this online platform. Although it is for our health and safety, I think that we need to provide students with the tools necessary in order to continue with their education.
Here's another question from online. Please say something you admire about your opponent and their slate.
starting with you actually.
So something that I admire about my opponent is that I've actually gotten the chance to work with her in different organizations on this campus, and I think she is a great leader, and I think that she does have a good vision for this campus as well. And then in regards to her slate, I think they are going to try to serve the students that they can.
So first of all, I love this question. I think that it is important that we acknowledge that we are all students here at San Diego State. I think, I've worked with almost everyone on both the slates. So, and ultimately we will be in the future as well. I really admire you, Crystal, for the energy that you bring to things. I think that you have a great positive light and that you will inspire others to get involved as well. And then in terms of the slate, I think there is a huge diversity, and I've worked with most of you in all different capacities, and I think that you bring a wide range of skills.
This will be our last question from online for this particular debate. One of the newest principles of the SDSU strategic plan is students at our core. As VP of University Affairs, what does this mean for you, and how do you plan on carrying out this principle? Sophie?
So I actually went to the strategic planning meeting, and we had a lot of really great conversations. Student at our core is so important for so many different reasons. That is why we're here, and ultimately I think that's why this position is so important, because we are representing the students and the academics of everyone. So I think that in a grand scheme of things should be how we're looking at the situation.
So Student at our core aims to make college more accessible for all students. Although this is the case, one of my top priorities is to help students inside as well as outside of the classroom. I think that putting students at our core not only extends to academics, but also giving them the resources such as the ECRT, making them more aware of that, making them more aware of the mental health resources that we have on campus. Because at the end of the day, we're here to support students, and although academics is a top priority, students cannot perform in their classrooms if their personal lives are being affected. Thank you.
All right, and now we're going to move into our closing statements. Each candidate gets 1 minute.
Start with you.
Okay. I would like to thank the Daily Aztec, the union staff, and everyone who streamed in today. My name is Crystal Sanchez, and I am running to be your next Vice President of University Affairs. I hope that you saw my 2020 vision today. Thank you so much.
So first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Daily Aztec for hosting this amazing debate, and as well as my opponent for this spirited and lively debate. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are on Kumeyaay land, and I would like to acknowledge the staff that made this event possible and gave us this clean space that we have today. It is time that we reevaluate, redefine, and reinforce our values here at San Diego State University. I will redefine accessibility, reevaluate advising, and reinforce that SDSU needs to support us being well-rounded students. I know the challenges that we face are unprecedented, but myself and my team are ready for the responsibility. My name is Sophie Chance. I'm running for Vice President of University Affairs, and we are ready to serve the SDSU.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We are now going to move on to the Vice President of External Relations, who is running unopposed, so he will be given a minute to answer all of these questions.
Do I still get an opening statement as well?
You absolutely do. Go ahead and start.
Wonderful. Hello, my name is Armando Sepulveda II. I am running to be Vice President of External Relations. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Daily Aztec for accommodating us here and figuring out how we're going to be handling this debate. I would also like to thank my opponent for being here today. It's not every day that you have an opponent that you agree with everything on, but it is a special occasion today. The issues that we face here, such as student homelessness, tuition increases, and lack of mental health resources, are issues that require bold action in the face of insurmountable adversity. It was because of these issues that I saw a need for a student leader to advocate for everyone at the Capitol. It was because of these issues that I decided to serve SDSU.
Define your role of the Vice President of External Relations, and how do you plan to make this role your own?
So the role of Vice President of External Relations is one in which you are the chief advocate throughout all of California for San Diego State University. You represent San Diego State at CSSA, which is the California State Student Association, which is where all 23 campuses come together and figure out the issues that are affecting us at a system-wide level. It is when you go to Sacramento and you talk to our legislators and tell them about the issues at San Diego State University that are affecting students and are affecting our education. And the way that I would make this my own is the way that I do everything in life. I will take input from every single student. I'll figure out the issues that are affecting all of us, and I will leave myself the room to learn and grow as I've done throughout my entire career here.
Why did you decide to run for this position, and what makes you the most qualified person for the job? Feel free to name any past positions you've had involving advocacy for students.
Sure. So the reason why I decided to run for this position was clear. I didn't see anyone else who was well suited for this job besides myself. I took it upon myself to run to be that advocate because as serving as the lobby board chair for Associated Students, I knew I had the expertise, the knowledge, and the know-how to pass legislation that benefits students directly. I also served as the vice president of the College Democrats, leading me to learn on multiple occasions the issues that multiple students who are civically engaged care about. And I've worked in past government offices for both sides of the aisle, leaving me with political expertise and knowledge that lends credence to my claim of being the most expert on this position.
Do you agree with how the university has handled the coronavirus pandemic? And would you have proposed a different approach?
I think the university has done the best that it could with such a short opportunity to figure out how to handle situations. I think a lot of students were frustrated at the fact that we were open longer than other universities, but that was because the resources that we had available were still being offered to students who were transitioning away from living at state to going back home. I think that it's not so much on the university, but on the legislature as a whole in their response to handling this situation, and that's where my role comes in. I think we should be bringing up these issues that students have with our legislators and trying to figure out a way to transition students who may have not had as great an opportunity to leave campus as soon as they could with financial resources to assist them.
What are some examples of ways you'll use your role to better serve SDSU students?
So I think the biggest way that my role directly impacts SDSU students is when it comes to financial aid and tuition. Currently, as it stands, financial aid is at a state where it doesn't take into consideration basic needs. Basic needs can range from food, gas, housing, and our legislature doesn't understand how important it is that we have a financial aid system that is all-encompassing, that handles these situations, that realizes that students aren't just here at a university just to learn and that the only cost that they have to worry about is classes and textbooks, but also living on campus. My direct impact is going to be able to ensure financial security, working alongside the Vice President of Financial Affairs, and figuring out ways in which we can have an all-encompassing financial aid system.
What will be your top 3 priorities as you come into this role?
So my top 3 priorities are to reevaluate the way financial aid works for students. I think financial aid does not do enough to cover the issues that students have on this campus. It is to redefine what it means to be civically engaged. I know, as stated prior, that Associated Students has had this mentality where we need other students to come to us. I think we need to go to them. And I would have a listening campaign for every single resource center, every single community on campus to figure out what issues matter to them the most so that I may be better able to advocate for them at the Capitol and on the system-wide level. And I think it's time to reinforce advocacy. Advocacy is something that I'm passionate about, that I know fully well. And I want to reinforce that value throughout all of San Diego State University.
The campus is currently undergoing a massive expansion into Mission Valley where a satellite campus is being developed. How do you plan to gauge student opinions on this issue and ensure that the final product addresses the needs of students first?
You know, that's a wonderful question because when we think about satellite campuses, we are currently thinking just about Mission Valley. We don't pay attention to Imperial Valley. We have a satellite campus already. And it's time for us to include them in the conversation as well, on how resources are going to be allocated, how it's going to impact them directly. And I plan to ensure that both campuses that we currently have are included in this conversation by listening to their issues. But it's important to acknowledge first and foremost that we already have a satellite campus that people forget about, and that can't be the case while we're building Mission Valley.
How will you advocate for students of color on campus?
As someone who falls into this category, I acknowledge that we have many issues that we face. And I don't belong to every single community on this campus. I also acknowledge that. I think it's important for me to understand the issues that every community has, to learn from these communities, and not be someone who imposes what I think they need on them, but where they tell me what they need from me. That's where the listening campaign comes in. That's where I'm going to start advocating for them. And that's where I'm going to learn and grow from their experience to become a better leader.
For most SDSU students, getting a degree will put them deeply into debt. Many young people who dream of attending SDSU never will because of affordability issues. How would you advocate on behalf of young people for making college more affordable and accessible to everybody?
I think we just need to look at past analytics on how much college used to cost for those who are making the laws currently. Oftentimes, we describe the struggles that we have, but our legislature and legislators don't understand. I think as this role of VP of External Relations, when I talk to our legislators, I will make sure they understand that college affordability is not only beneficial for students, but for the economy as a whole. If students are graduating with an insurmountable amount of debt, they can't contribute to the economy the same way that others could have. It directly impacts everything in the United States and in California, from the top up to the student who's dealing with these financial situations. So holding our legislators accountable is how I plan to do that.
How will you act as a liaison between students, the administration, and other government entities in your role?
So as a liaison, I think it's most important to figure out who exactly am I representing, and that's the student body. Ensuring that student voice is at the conversation of every discussion that I have is what I plan to do. It doesn't matter what the administration thinks would benefit the university, it matters what the students think is going to benefit them. And that's what I'm going to be bringing while I'm talking to administration and while I'm talking to our legislators. That's the mentality that I have currently, and that's what's going to stay with me.
Given you are the only candidate running for this position, how can you guarantee students you are the right person despite the fact they will not have the option to vote against you?
You know, and I acknowledge the fact that I'm the only candidate, and I am someone who espouses the virtues of democracy more than anyone else. I would rather be running against someone so that we can have a debate on ideas, not just a conversation. But the situation remains, and I know that trust is something that has to be earned, not given. As the only choice, I want to ensure that I earn every single person's trust. And in order to do that, I will learn from every single person and their issues that they have. Elections are decisions. Votes are sacred. Trust is earned. I intend to earn every single one of these votes that I get, not just because I'm the only one on stage, but because they truly do feel I do the best to represent them.
We will now have questions from our online comment section. This first one is, how do you plan to support students in the fall semester transitioning from online classes, and how this semester has impacted their course plans?
So I will work directly with the Vice President of University Affairs to figure out how exactly we can make legislation or we can advocate or communicate better the changes that need to be made. I know that on my slate we have someone who is wonderful and capable of doing this task, and whatever ideas that they can give me, I will be sure to implement. And I will do my best to learn on these situations as they come up.
Another question from online. It is an unprecedented time in our nation's history, and so much remains at stake. How do you plan to continue the success of this year's Rock the Vote campaign in order to increase student turnout in November?
So I was on multiple Rock the Vote campaign leadership teams. I know exactly how students react when it comes to advocacy or becoming civically engaged. I think it's important to realize that a lot of the changes that have been made to this year's Rock the Vote campaign worked and were successful. It's important that we keep up these traditions, but we also implement new ones, figuring out ways that we can reach demographics that normally don't vote or can't vote. I intend to figure out ways we can engage students who aren't citizens, so that way they can at least have some participation, maybe not in voting, but in having their voices heard. Rock the Vote is one of the most important things that this university has to offer, and I intend to work diligently to ensure that every single student's vote counts come November.
Another question from online. How do you plan to work with Greek Life to continue to have a positive impact on campus while holding people accountable?
So I intend to work with Greek Life in multiple ways. Namely, I have members on my slate who are in Greek Life. That's a perspective that I've never had before and that I've been able to learn from. I think their issues matter just as much as anybody else's issues. But in regards to keeping them accountable, we have rules in place. Enforcing those rules is something that we need to do. And I know for a fact that the top of our ticket is working to revise and redefine what it means to be Greek on campus for the better.
And this is going to be our final question from online. The Supreme Court is expected to make a decision on DACA sometime this year. What tangible actions will you take to support our undocumented students should DACA be overturned?
You know, that's a question that hits home for me because one of my best friends was a DACA recipient. He was sent to Mexico to renew his visa and was stuck there for 2 weeks without knowing whether or not he was going to be able to come back home to the country that he knows. For every person on our campus who is a DACA recipient, your issue matters to me. Doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says, I will ensure that every single legislator knows your issue, that we protect you, that you're welcome here, to your home, to your country, because that's what matters.
Thank you for your time so far, Armando. Next, we will be moving on to your closing statement. You have 1 minute for that.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the Daily Aztec for being so accommodating in these confusing times, and for the opportunity to let everyone know where I stand on these issues. This time we reevaluate, redefine, and reinforce San Diego State University. We need to reevaluate financial aid for all of our students. We need to redefine what it means to be civically engaged and reinforce advocacy. I know the challenges we face ahead are unprecedented, but myself and my team welcome this responsibility. We do not shrug from it. There was once a quote from a famous president that asked not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. My team has been asking ourselves not to what we, SDSU, can do for us, but what we can do for SDSU. And we are ready to serve SDSU.
All right, we barely made time. Thank you so much for your time, and for the same for the other candidates. Those are all of our questions for today. And thank you to everybody who tuned in through our Facebook Live. We will be doing another set of debates tomorrow at noon. So if you would like to tune into those as well, it will be on the Daily Aztec Facebook page. But for now, thank you for everybody who helped make this happen, and we'll see you tomorrow.